up, book babes? Get comfy, get cozy. It's time to chill. I'm Cassie.
And I'm Emily, and this is Book Bits and Chill, the podcast where we break down every chapter, thirst over fictional men, and never take ourselves too seriously.
That's right. And this week we are really sad, but really excited because we are wrapping up our read-along of The Night in the Month. So today we'll be covering chapters 21 through 31. And let me tell you, there's so much shit that happened in 10 chapters. I cannot believe what Rachel did to us at the end of this book.
Is so much to go over, and we're really going to challenge ourselves to kick off our segments with speed reads, and we're each going to keep our set of chapters under 3 minutes. Do you hear
so
that,
they're
Cassie?
Actually going to be speed reads. Okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
We've been dropping the ball on speed reads. Our speed reads have been like 25 minutes. And we're going to try to challenge ourselves with a countdown timer down to 3 minutes each for our 5 chapters.
3 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
All
and
right.
that is going to leave more time for our reoccurring segment, Moth to Flame moment, the scene that hooked us in, the trope tracker, which tropes are coming out strong in this set of chapters, quote of the week, our favorite, bits of the week, freeform chaotic discussion, and then would we survive? And so we'll see.
We will see. Okay, so are we kicking it off with our speed reads? Am I first?
Yep, you have 3 minutes, Cassie. Timer starts now.
We enter with Sybil surviving a near-death experience. So if you recall, at the end of our last episode, Sybil had defeated the Ardent Oarsmen, but she fell into the water that she was surrounded by when they were dueling, and she cannot swim, which is wild because she's a diviner who drowns every day. So she wakes up and essentially immediately goes into a deep depression because when she was fighting the Ardent Oarsmen, he told her that none of her diviners were alive. And she actually went and snooped immediately after into Benji's grandfather's journal and learned that it's actually yet to be uncovered what has happened over history to the diviners after they've completed their 10 years of service. So she's just like, what the fuck is my life? All of my friends are dead. What the fuck was about to happen to me after that 10 years? Like, I have no answers. And so she essentially completely spirals. They're in the Chiming Wood at this point. They brought her to Maud's, like, hometown, but this is also where their next phase of their mission is going on. And so as she's having this existential crisis, she's like, you know what? If all of my past truth of my life is essentially dead, like, so is me as Six, the diviner. So I am going to speak the name Sybil Delling. So she says it to Rory for the first time, and she vows to take down the Abbess and Aisling for all of their fucking shit that they've done to her. So after that, they go to the Faithful Forester's chime to do Benji's whole, like, inauguration, and they use the actual chime during the ceremony to welcome Benji, and it basically turns into this, like, big ayahuasca trip that then turns into a massive sprite attack that also then almost kills Maud. So that was, like, kind of a little bit of a cliffhanger, but then we wake up and Maud's totally fine. Sybil then unveils her plan to the rest of the crew that she's going to take out Mother Supreme, and they're all like, yes, we'll help you, but also you deserve to become a knight. And so Benji's knighting her, and he essentially asks her to, like, swear blind loyalty to him, and she's like, I don't know, and Rory's like, fuck no, do not do that. And she's like, you're right, I don't want to do that. I've sworn myself away to Aisling, I've sworn myself away to the Omens, the Abbess, everyone. And so Benji's like, fine, whatever. She becomes a knight. And then after that, she's all hyped up on her new knighthood, and she goes to Rory's room to see him. And he's like helping her take her armor off. And that's not the only thing that comes off. She asks him to take off her shroud for the first time. For the first fucking time. It's coming off, baby. I mean, this is the most intimate scene that I've ever read. So he takes off her shroud and sees her eyes for the first time that anyone's seen her eyes other than the stupid fucking Ardent Oarsmen when that happened on accident. And he tells her that she's the most beautiful woman that he's ever seen, which was the cutest fucking thing ever. And so she's like, I don't want to see my eyes yet, but also kiss me. And so he kisses her, and they end up having sex for the first time. And and Sybil finally experiences her undoing, her little death, le petit morte. I can't remember what the fuck it is in French, but anyway, she has an orgasm for the first time under Rory's hands. She's like experiencing the afterglow of the undoing, and she's like, let me look at my eyes. I need to face myself. She goes and looks at her eyes, and they are made of stone. And she's like, what? Who am I? So then she has another existential crisis of fucking course. And that's where we essentially leave off with Rory and Sybil. And meanwhile, they have to continue on their fucking mission. So they go into, what's the area called where the loom people are?
I don't know.
The Heartsore Reaver? I can't remember what the area is called.
The Heartsore Weaver. Yeah, I don't know what the area is called either.
So they go there, and Benji's...
3 minutes!
Okay, then you have to pick up where I left off.
Oh my god, I have to finish yours and mine in 3 minutes?
Yeah.
I think I actually gave you 30 extra seconds because I was like, I can't cut her off pre-orgasm. It was like before the orgasm, and I was like, I can't stop her there. Holy shit.
No.
Okay,
Sybil deserved the extra time. Okay, so I left off on them going to retrieve the Heartsore Weaver's loomstone.
Oh my god, I feel like I'm on Fear Factor. Okay.
Good luck. Good luck.
I can do it. Okay, ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, they get to the place where they're going to get the loomstone from the Heartsore Reaver. Okay, it's some town. They're all really nice. The people are lovely. They are staying in this little cute inn. Sybil is with the gargoyle in a room, and in comes a creature in a cloak. Like think about like Harry Potter, like the Dementors. This is what's coming into her room. She's freaked out. She freaks out the thing in the Dementor cloak. It runs away. Next day, Benji has to do the little like ceremony for the leaders of the area, and it has to do with like weaving this like crochet around him. It's beautiful. Nothing bad happens. Everybody is having a great time. The gargoyle is like, hey, by the way, I found this hole over in this like hill by the water earlier. I want to show you guys it because I think that might be where the Heartsore Weaver lives. And they're like, okay, whoa. Gargoyle, like, how do you know these cool things all of a sudden? Yeah. And so he takes them to him. And it's this hole they have to jump into that leads to a cave. And Rory has this moment where he's like, I'm claustrophobic. And I'm like, oh, weird. Like, really weird tick to have. And they're like, he's like, but I'm going to go down there anyways because I do anything for love. And I just had an orgasm. So they jump in the hole. And it's the cave of the Heartsore Weaver. They go on this whole little, like, Indiana Jones-esque, like, adventure with, they're, like, falling on coins. They're going through these tunnels. Water's rushing. And she makes it to this center, like, cave area by herself. And there laying on a tomb is one. The diviner that Cassie's been looking for
My
since
favorite
episode
diviner. 1. Damn it.
She's definitely dead. She's laying there, and then in comes the Dementor-like creature, and it's the Heartsore Weaver. So the Heartsore Weaver tells Sybil her whole story and, like, what's been going on with the diviners. So she says she was the one that originally sewed the Omen's cloaks. So she sewed the Omen's cloaks. The abbess took them from her and started using them for bad, but kept saying, like, you guys are going to be like these great gods. Everybody's going to worship you. And so she was like, oh my God, that's what I want. I want divine power. So she did it. And she goes about, like, doing her whole cloak thing, and then realizes that, like, all these years have passed and she had no idea. And so she's like, I'm not going to do this anymore, Abbess. I don't want any part of it. And the Abbess was like, then I'm not going to give you this water that is going to keep you alive, and you're going to starve to death. And she was kind of like, I'll take the starvation because I don't want to be alive anymore. Nobody I love is alive anymore. Everything that I cared about is gone. So, like, off with me. Didn't realize how long it was going to take. It took about 9 to 10 years for her to starve. But instead of dying, she just turned completely into stone. Still alive, still sentient, just completely stone. So she's, like, horrified with herself, horrified with the Abbess. So she decided to start this whole thing where she's going to save the diviners, like, bodies. So once they're, like, delivered to her, she, like, gives them a proper burial. It's very cute. And so Sybil now feels like she has her... Well, Sybil gives the Heartsore Weaver what she's always wanted, and that's death. And she breaks her down with her hammer and chisel. And she's like, I feel like I know the whole story now. I know what I need to do. She goes to Eileen Cathedral, and she's like, Rory, Maud, Gargoyle, Benji, we're gonna tear this place down. So she
Tear it down.
like approaches the abbess. They like have a fight. I can't like fully remember how she died, but she dies. And then she takes apart the cathedral stone by stone with the help of their buds. And they're like, oh my god, we won this round. Like, this is us. We're like, done deal. And then they're all in the forest, like getting ready to decide what their next steps are. And Benji stabs Rory.
No!
And is like, oh my god, what's going on? And then stabs the gargoyle and breaks his wing. Not the gargoyle, not the gargoyle.
Not the gargoyle.
He's like, Sybil, you're coming with me. I need a diviner by my side, and you're gonna marry me. You're gonna be my wife, and I'm gonna rule this kingdom. And Rory, Maud, and Gargoyle get lost. And that's how the story ends.
Oh my god.
Did I do that under 3 minutes?
I actually don't know. I wasn't timing you because you were literally talking so fast that I was like, she's gonna hit it. I was like, there's no way this is gonna be above 2 minutes.
I unfortunately think it was.
That's okay. That's all right. That was perfect. Holy shit. So much happened. And who would have thought that the fucking boy king out of everyone would have been the one to just absolutely stab everyone in the heart?
And we gave him so much space to, like, do right. I think earlier in the episodes, we were like, is he a cursed king, or is he just trying to do right by the people? Take it all back. He's a cursed king.
Yeah, he's a little fucker is what he is. And do not hurt Bartholomew. Do not hurt him. I'm like, do whatever you want to Rory. Do whatever you want to Maud. Do not touch our gargoyle. That is the one thing that sent me when I was reading that. I was like, I'm coming after this fucking boy king for touching my gargoyle.
I was like, you can kill Rory as long as the gargoyle gets away.
Take Rory. Take Rory as a distraction. Take Rory and leave. Okay. Yeah, that was fucking wild. And also the we'll get into it in our segments, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just still, my jaw is still on the floor. I feel like I'm still computing, honestly.
Okay. I have to do a PSS about a part I skipped over to make time.
Oh, does this add to your time?
PSS, they found out that all of the old diviners after the 10 years turn into gargoyles.
Yes, that I was going to add that in one of our later segments.
We'll talk about it more later, but just so you know.
Just so you know, PSS. Oh okay. My god. All right, should we get into our moth to flame moments?
Yeah, Cass, what was your moth to flame moment? I'm dying to know.
I'm going to be honest, I was between two. I definitely have like a lead one, but then I also had like a PSS one. So my lead one was when the gargoyle was telling his story about how he became the gargoyle. Oh my god.
Tell us the story. Tell us the full thing.
Dagger to the fucking chest. So basically, we all know that the gargoyle calls everything and everyone Bartholomew. And we learned that was actually his name. And he was the first ever diviner. So he was just a young boy and he became the first diviner. He became the first abbess's like fucking pet. And eventually it got to the point where I can't even remember what he started to do. It wasn't like he was starting to like rebel or anything.
No, he started noticing and asking questions.
He was asking questions, and obviously the abbess is an evil bitch, and so
Dictator.
She doesn't like that, and so she decided that she was gonna get rid of him and he wasn't of any use to her anymore. And by then she had been taking on the girls and all of that stuff. And so she essentially locked him away for like years and like starved him of the water, like starved him basically of everything.
The same as the Heartsore Weaver.
The same as the Heartsore Weaver. And he ended up becoming a gargoyle through that. And so we start to learn through that essentially when the abbess has like a favorite diviner or like a lead diviner, which Six would have been, that she does the same thing that she did to Bartholomew to them and makes them gargoyles. And that is the reason why the gargoyles were like these sentient beings that could walk throughout the castle. And so, yeah, it was just really sad because
It's giving
What?
serial killer by the abyss. Like,
Yeah, fuck her, dude.
yeah,
She's
it's like way
so
too
messed up.
calculated.
Yeah, yeah. It's like one of those things where it's like, I know we talked about like what the gargoyles could potentially be and if they were like potentially omens in and of themselves. And then it's like, to your point, like how far did she have to calculate the fact that like she could use these diviners as people and then eventually she could like eternally use them as gargoyles. Like it's
Horrific.
wild. It's
And
absolutely
what's really
bananas.
sad, what was really sad was that he like didn't his brain, I guess you would say he had a brain, wouldn't age past when he was that little boy. So that's why he kind of like always says things wrong and he's kind of silly and
Yeah.
things like that because he has the mind of a little boy and he's also traumatized and was
I mean, he
abused.
was so deeply traumatized, and he literally told the
Oh,
story from like the abbess's perspective. And so, like, she's like telling, or he's like telling it as her telling him the story. And it was just really sad. And
sick to my
that was
stomach.
also, we learned why, like, throughout the book, when he would kind of tease the story of himself or his background or whatever to Sybil, and he'd be like, it's a story that you already know, like it's a story that you know. And it was because he knew that Six was most likely going to be the next gargoyle that was created out of this batch of
Yeah.
diviners. So, oh my God, that just fucking broke my heart. And we're really
Oh, so
happy
sad.
that he escaped in the end, another fucking dictator.
Yeah.
But the second Moth Flame moment was a little bit happier, and it's when Sybil is standing on the cliffs of Belladine, and she's like essentially coming to terms with the fact that like all of her friends, her past life, everything she knew to just be her reality is essentially dead and she needs to look forward to this new future. And so
Yeah.
she like ditches her shroud for forever. She like lets it go into the ocean. She's like fully embracing who she is. And I just thought it was this really beautiful moment. And they're like, the whole crew is just like watching her accept this and everyone's crying. Rory immediately kisses her. Like it was just very sweet. And I feel like
They
that was such a
had
good like culmination of her character arc.
but can I say a few things?
What? You were desperate
First
to
of
get in
all,
there.
the shroud. That
Shout.
shroud literally wisps away in the wind like it's never going to like be a physical
Right.
item ever again. And when
Right.
this whole time it's been waterproof, bulletproof, chisel proof, sex proof. Like this thing has not been moved or touched this entire story. And then all of a sudden the wind and ocean just wisp it away to nothing.
Emily, she untied it and put it into the wind. She didn't just come off of her head out of nowhere when she decided that
Gossamer fabric. She was like, and it just like went away. I'm like, this thing has been cemented to your face this entire book.
the realism that you are desperate for with this shroud in this story that is so far from reality.
Second,
It's so good.
second,
Second.
okay, the people with them, I think it was just like Maud and Benji at this point, made
Uh,
zero reaction to her having stone eyes.
Oh wait, I thought that they did. I thought that
No,
they
they
like
were,
had a moment where they were like, oh, and then they like pulled it together real quick.
yeah, I'm sorry. If I saw that, I would be like, holy shit, she's an omen. What is happening? Are we cursed? Do we have to kill her too? And they were just like, they literally just did like a soft smile and then like went about their fucking festival.
Don't you think that it might be because though that they like at that point had seen all of these omens, they've battled these omens, whatever, and they probably were like, oh, these people have been guzzling spring water for years and they've turned to stone. Like, it makes
Yeah,
fucking sense.
100%.
Yeah.
But realistically, what would have happened? She would have moved that little shroud, and they would have been like, "Holy shit! She's been lying to us this whole time. She's also an omen, and she's been trying to take down all her other omens so she could be top omen." That's what I would
Yeah.
think.
I don't know. I really I don't know that I would have gone there personally. I would have been like, oh my gosh, she's reclaiming herself, her identity, like she's taking back her life. Like that's just so beautiful. And oh shit, she is so nice. That makes sense because she's been drowning in spring water for the last decade.
You know what? Don't count me out in book 3, this theory.
The duology has just become a trilogy, people.
Oh.
Watch out. Emily's fanfic has turned this into a trilogy overnight.
Rachel, get me in there. Okay.
Okay, what was yours?
My Moth the Flame moment was the Heartsour Weaver's story about losing
Oh,
everybody
I
she
knew
loved.
that was going to be yours. That
Yeah.
was so good.
It was just like so beautiful the way she
It was.
told it, but then it was also like very dark. You were like, she's telling it as in the past. Like, these are things I've already lost. I will never get them back. This time is lost. I have nothing to look forward to. But it was supposed to be like a kind of like a lesson to us all that no matter what's happening in your life, good or bad, like negative, positive, things that make you sad, things that make you happy, appreciate them because they all come from having the ability to have human emotion, ability to have love, ability to have sadness. And some people don't get that. And like the people that are climbing to divine power, the dictators, all those things, they give away their souls to a cause and they lose sight of what really matters. And so I felt like it was just like a really pertinent message for the world right now. And it's like, just remember what you have close to your heart.
That's right. And don't lose sight of it. And I feel like that message is something that we continue to see over and over, where it's like, you know, to your point, like people are born with humanity, people are born with empathy and purity and all of these things. And just over time, we give that stuff up for what? Like, for what? And like, what does that matter in the end when you are 80, 90, 100, 200, like Emily and I will be like, what the fuck does it matter? Like, what matters in the end is your humanity and your ability to feel all of these things, because that's what makes life so beautiful. And I love that she touched on that. I totally agree. I thought that was so perfectly written, because I feel like that's something that we continue to get away from this day and age. Like, especially with social media and all that shit. Like, we're just so disconnected. And it's like, stay right here. Stay in the heart.
That's why we barely edit our episodes, so that you see reality. So you see reality.
You see us feel every feeling in under an hour.
So that you know you don't have to be perfect out there, okay? You know what? This isn't my quote, but the gargoyle says something, so I don't have it as a direct quote, but the gargoyle says something about how, like, it's basically like you're moving forward in life, and the stuff in the past still matters, but you just have to keep going.
I do remember what you're talking about, but I can't remember the exact words.
Okay, we just said we weren't gonna edit anything. We were gonna cut that part out. The whole Bartholomew story, I like almost can't talk about it. It brings tears to my eyes.
I mean, same. I love this character so much. It's like actually painful to let go.
So I had some pretty good trope tracker moments.
Oh yeah, okay. Kick us off.
You love my first one. Munchausen trope. Because
is it by proxy or what?
Munchausen by proxy. Literally, what's that movie with Joey King where the mom is like keeping her ill and sick and acting like she has cancer?
I cannot remember, but I know exactly. It's based off of that true story, right?
Yeah, of the mom literally like needs to have a sick child so bad so that she needs her and she's wanted and she has a purpose. And that is literally this bitch abbess. Like, the abbess literally is Munchausen by proxy, like, on her diviners. And she's like, oh, I love you. I'm saving you from death. I'm, like, giving you a better life and giving you a purpose. And then she literally abuses, tortures them, and turns them into stone.
It's so true.
Munchausen trope.
I love that. I mean, I love that it's a trope and a diagnosis in one.
I think Rachel's probably watched that movie before.
She for sure has. I totally see that for her. I know so little about her, but I know that about her.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, I love that. Okay. Any other big ones?
This is a good one, okay?
Okay.
But my betrayal is justified trope. And And that comes from Benji at the end because he like genuinely thinks he's not betraying his friends. He's like, I'm betraying a couple of people for the better of an
like the
entire
greater
kingdom,
good.
for the greater good. This is what the
Yep.
people need in the end. Of course,
Yep.
he's delusional and he's
Yeah, of
literally just
course.
like hungry with power, just like the omens. But
Yep.
he has this like trope I think we see throughout Romantasy where it's like as these corrupt leaders are like, no, it's not betrayal, it's justified.
Yep, 100%. And I feel like, I don't really know the trope word for it, but I feel like there is this kind of consistent thread in like almost this need for like a transfer of power, like no matter what, you know, where
Right.
it's like you can't just dismantle this like horrific system and like have it just be a free for all. It's like there's gotta
Democracy.
be a democracy. Like there's gotta be like some sort of figurehead that like comes in and like says like air quotes saves the sanity of like the people because they wouldn't be able to like handle the truth. And
Yeah.
it's so interesting because it's like how much of that is real and how much of that is just people like as human beings biologically just like if they're handed that power desperately needing to take it,
Yep.
you know.
Yep. I
It's
think
like this
that's what
boy
it
king,
is.
like what the
I
fuck,
think
you
the
were such
boy king, the whole time he was like acting like how he didn't want people to treat him as a child. They're always talking
right,
down to him. They're always like telling
right,
him how to be, what to do, all these things. And he's like, well, screw you guys because now I run this entire world. And I
yeah,
think he
he's like
needed that
haha,
power.
right, yeah, he's like joke's on you.
And
Which
there was a
is
quote. There's a quote he said, "For things to go right, you must often do the wrong thing," and that is bullshit.
is that your quote of the week?
No,
How are you sneaking in quotes left and right?
I read the book. But I
You've
just
been
thought
cheating.
I needed
I
to
do
say
agree.
that because it was such bullshit. Like it's just a dictator, like making
Yeah.
himself feel better about the wrong he's doing.
Yeah, 100%. There's always a justification for people in power doing the shit that they do.
I
There's
wish
like
they would
always
have.
a framing. There's always some sort of belief behind it, and it's insane.
I wish they would have trapped him in the cottage and turned him into a gargoyle.
I wish they would have kept him in the cave. Yeah, look at you. Now you're becoming the abbess.
I want greater power.
See? See? There's always got to be a transfer, no matter what.
You have to do the wrong thing sometimes, Cassie.
Benji's out. Emily said, you guys watch out. There's a new Mother Supreme.
Oh god, I'm so scared of myself. Never let me come to power. Never give me fame. I
Never.
can't handle it.
Other than our podcast, disclaimer.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of my tropes was, which I think this is an actual trope on the internet that I've seen, which is the trope of like found family,
Yeah.
where like I do really feel like other than the end and Benji being a little fucking bitch, like they did really form kind of this like mini family unit where it's like they all really started to see each other for like who they truly were, and like Maud and Sybil started to get really close, and then obviously we learn everything about the gargoyle and everyone's like, oh my god, poor baby. Like I
Yeah.
feel like they all just like really started to like huddle together as this group, and there was like this part where Rory and Sybil were talking about like what comes after they dismantle Ashling, and Rory was like, I'll go with you wherever you want to go, like we're together, we're a team. And so
Yeah.
I thought that that was really sweet, despite Benji's horrific display of love at the end.
Well, I have a question for you.
Okay.
It, is it
Go
found
on.
family is it found family trope or is it trauma bond trope? Are they really a family, or are they just trauma bonded so deeply that they can't
I-
ever leave?
I actually think that they are, because it's like Maud and Rory and Benji have like known each other since they were like kids, and Maud was like basically their mom slash older sister, and then like
True.
Sybil and Rory are like hooking up and undoing each other, and like Sybil and the gargoyle like definitely trauma bonded at the cathedral, but then they like really kind of became like best friends. Like, do you remember that moment where she thought that the gargoyle was lost and or like he had been stolen, and that's why she went
Yeah.
up to the cliff, because she panicked
Yeah.
and she's like, I can't lose another person that I care about in my life. Like that was one of the moments where I was like, oh my God, like the gargoyle is like really, really, really fucking important to her. So
I'll give you that. One
thank you.
point for Cassie.
One trope for Cassie. My last one was I don't know if this is a trope, but just the whole concept around like how propaganda is spread like
Yeah.
throughout this book and like who and what are like are susceptible to it and like how quickly it is to buy into these things. Like to your
Yep.
point around Benji, like for him, it was so easy for him to make that, not maybe easy, but it was so quick for him to make that decision because he was so quickly like, oh no, like this kingdom has been protected by these lies and these secrets and whatever from just pure chaos. And so we need to keep that up. Like we need some sort of like divine figurehead for these people to look up to. And it's like, do we? Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Like, why
Yeah.
is that so easy to buy into? I don't understand.
Because,
So,
like you said earlier, people need something to believe in.
yeah, yeah, 100%. And in this
And
case,
that-
it's fucking Sybil and her shroud.
Well, and that leads me to one of mine, which kind of plays into the same trope. It's like this false god trope. So, like,
Yeah,
everybody believes in these gods because that's what gives them purpose. And that's what, like,
right,
leads them to believe, like, this life is worth living. And then when
right,
that's all taken away, like, what do
right.
people start doing? Are people actually more depressed when you take away, when, like, the shroud is revealed from over their
Yeah,
eyes? And
yeah,
so that's where
yeah,
people like Benji
yeah.
step in.
Yeah, the gossamer. I mean, there was multiple times in the book too where I think like they would tell the truth about something like that and someone would be like, "Oh, well that's terrifying," or "Oh, that sucks," or whatever, and they would be like, "The truth often does." And so it's like
Oh, a quote?
no, I did not directly quote. I was paraphrasing, but they would say this throughout the book, and like I think that plays into what you're saying of like I don't think that people can handle the fucking truth. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and you experience this in all facets of life, but it's like we'd rather just take these stories that sound nice to us and like more comfortable, and that can be in the shape of a diviner with a shroud or
Yep.
whatever god, and that's how we sleep at night and that's how we
Yep.
cope with everyday life. And I get it, but also like reading about it in this way too, you're just like, "Ugh, like why?"
I know.
It's
There's like
infuriating.
so many opportunities to get rid of Benji throughout the story, and he was always saved. So annoying.
Look at you going into the abyss again. She's literally plotting Benji's death. She
Okay.
can't help herself.
So I
She's like, by the way, chapter 19, perfect opportunity to just drown Benji.
literally, when Sybil and the gargoyle saved his life, they could have just walked away and saved us all this trouble.
Okay, Mother Supreme, what's your quote? Stop with that.
Unfortunately, my quote does
Is it an
involve
Abbas
Benji's
quote?
name. No. My quote, you kind of brought this up during your speed read, is a quote from Sybil, and it's, I think I would like to stop promising myself away, or else there will be nothing left of me to give
Yeah.
King Castor. And I think she said his name like that, and I
King
think that's when she
Castor.
started catching on. She started catching on a little bit at that point.
She did
But
start
I
catching on. I agree.
really liked that quote because, you know, at times it's okay to be a little selfish. It's okay to protect yourself a little bit and put yourself before others. And Sybil didn't do that throughout this entire book. And she was finally like, I'm going to stand my ground. I'm going to stand on my truth for a second. And I'm going to put
Yeah.
Sybil in front. And I just love
Yes.
that for her.
I totally agree. Again, I like just this like watching her like take back like because she was such a fucking like people pleaser, pick me, like all the things
Oh,
for like
so bad.
the first half of the book. Like she just wanted to make the abbess happy. She wanted to make the other
The
diviners
diviner's
happy.
happy. She would
Like,
pick the short
she-
straw.
Yeah, like she just was never choosing herself. And so to like watch her come into that in the back half of the book, like especially after experiencing so much loss, after learning her entire reality was just a complete lie, like was just amazing. So that's a good quote.
And I
like
think
that.
it also like put this light on how you can get pride from yourself and pride from like your
Yeah.
own accomplishments and not other people telling you they're proud of you and telling you you're doing a good job. And I
You
think
can
we
be
all
your
need
own
to
knight
hear,
in shining armor, baby.
yep. And I think we all need to hear that a little bit these
Yeah,
days.
I
You can be
agree.
proud
These
of
days.
yourself. Your
Yeah.
trophies, your accolades, your
Mm-hmm.
promotions do not make
Mm-hmm.
you. If you can go to bed every night proud of yourself because you didn't promise too much of yourself away, then that's an A+ life to me.
I love that. Be your own knight in shining armor is what Rachel is trying to tell us throughout this
I
entire
love that.
book. I love
Okay,
that.
hit us with your
Okay.
quote.
I'm reading mine directly from the book. Okay, so
Love
this
it.
is right before Sybil is about to get knighted. And she's talking to Rory, and he's like, "It is easier swearing ourselves to someone else's cause than to sit with who we are without one." And I just loved that quote so much because I think that goes into all the things that we've been saying of like, it's just easier to hear people be super passionate about what they believe in and the cause that they support and whatever and say like, I agree with that and that's what I'm going to attach myself to. And it's really, really hard to sit down with yourself and say, do I actually believe in that? Like, do I
Right.
actually agree with that? Like, is that something that like in my heart of hearts I feel connected to? And it's
Yep.
even harder when you're talking to your friends about it, when you're talking to your family about it, because it's like, what are the implications of that? Probably like, people don't agree with you and then what happens? And so I just thought that that was really powerful, similar to what you're saying of like
Yeah.
how do we take back that like individual thought, that individualism, like sense of self and that confidence in ourselves and what we believe
Exactly.
in and what we support.
Be a nice girl. Be respectful. It's okay to have different opinions, but
Yeah.
stand up for what you believe in, okay?
Be your knight in shining armor, okay? That's our only directive for you this week.
Be your knight in shining armor. Honestly, I love that quote. That's going to be my quote of the week next week.
Oh, wow, I love that.
Okay,
Copyright.
Cass, you know what time it is. Bits of the
Oh,
week, bits of the week, bits of the
bits of
week.
the week, bits of the week.
And I have a lot to say this week. Okay.
Me too. Okay, go ahead. Kick us off.
I want to know, once you learned about Bartholomew and the gargoyles' whole story, did you
Yeah.
see that storyline coming? And now that you know his whole story, if you went back and reread it, do you think you would read his character different from the start?
Mm.
Like he
No,
wouldn't be so funny from the start.
I did not see it coming at all. And I do think that some of the like comedy out of the things that he was saying would be taken away from for me because
Yeah.
like just knowing that they're like that is coming from this place of just like deep pain and trauma
Yeah.
and like knowing that all he wants is like love and acceptance like it makes it harder
I
to laugh
know.
in those moments.
I know.
But
I think
also, I do think the like innocence and purity of like when he like fucks up common phrases or whatever, like when he's like, every day has its dog, Bartholomew, like that still is funny to me because I'm just like, that comes from just like such like childlike innocence. But I
I
don't know.
think I think she wanted him to be like a comedic relief side character, so she
Yeah.
purposely like didn't let us in too much till the end because I would have still loved him, but I would have loved him out of like sadness, I think.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
Yeah.
Like I just want to hold this little gargoyle and never let him go. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't
I
see that coming for him at all.
I did. I remember, like, in the first or the second episode, I was saying, like, I think that the diviners turn into gargoyles.
Yes.
But I never thought the whole story about how, like, he was the first one and he was the
Right.
first boy and then she only
Right.
chose girls after and, like, how much abuse he was under. I didn't think about
Right.
that. I thought he was just, like, a one-off diviner.
Yeah, I didn't even think of him being a one-off because he was a boy. And I was like, oh, she's just always been
Oh, good
choosing
point.
girls. So, like, I totally agreed with the diviners becoming gargoyles. but I didn't anticipate him being the first one and then her only selecting like her chosen ones, you know, like
Yeah.
the how Sybil was the favorite and so she was going to become the gargoyle and like I didn't see those twists coming. So I did let, and that was actually one of my bits of the week, so we can get into that.
BLTW.
I'm Vato. I'm interested in what you think of the like magic system and how she set up the like twists and turns in this book because I actually loved so much the simplicity of a lot of it, where it was like,
Mm,
I felt like so many of the things we called like along the way, where we were like, oh, this is probably happening with this, and they're drowning in the fucking spring water, they're probably turning to stone. Like all of this stuff, I felt like was generally predictable, but it wasn't so predictable in a way where I was like rolling my eyes when it happened. Like I
yeah,
felt like the simplicity of those things like opened the door for there to be more depth to what happened, if that makes sense. And so I
yeah.
would love your take on that because I enjoyed like not needing to think too much about the what is happening with the magic and how it works and
That's
why
true.
and all of that stuff. I was like, oh, there's fucking omens and they do like two things and that's it.
So I actually struggled with this back and forth, and I'll tell you why. So Rachel is an amazing writer. Like the way she writes is insane, and I think that her world building is amazing. But the magic system and like the omens and the simplicity of it was giving me a little like YA. Like it was reminding me when I would
Interesting.
read like very like you needed to be able to grasp it easily because you're 13
Yeah.
years old and you can't have too much complexity and you need to like
Yeah.
fall in love with these worlds. And so I like kept thinking that and it was making me struggle a little bit. I was like, was this supposed to be a YA story? But no, they have sex.
But no, they get
No, they have
undone.
sex. And so
They have a
then
little depth.
that was my thought process you just saw in real life. And then, so I was like, is this supposed to be simple because it's an intro novel? But then when it's a duology, like, what is she introing?
I don't know, but I do think like and I do agree with you. Like it does feel like a YA, like, oh, you just need to like grasp this kind of simple these simple concepts, but at the same time, like it felt like it just allowed for so much more fodder with like her world building and like the character
Yeah.
development and all of that stuff. Like she didn't have to spend a bunch of fucking time explaining like how the omens worked or like how these little how the chime worked or the coin or
Yeah.
whatever. Like it was just so clear. And so then it was like when she was painting like the chiming wood or whatever, like I actually felt like I was literally right there. And I
That's
think
true.
that that's really, really, really hard to do in these fantasy novels because it's like you're trying to paint this intricate web of magic while also trying to paint these intricate, beautiful pictures of the world while also trying to develop these characters. And it's like there's just
Yeah.
sometimes like too much fucking happening where it's like, okay, now
Hey,
relax.
this is YA. Keep the F word out of it. So
Whoops.
I
Sorry.
totally agree. Like when I say it was like YA world building, I also love that world building. Like I used to be obsessed with YA, and so I totally agree. Like when she was explaining the way like the ardent oarsman like parted the waterfall to like go behind it, I felt like I could
Yeah.
fully like picture everything she was talking about. But I
Yeah.
still have in the back of my mind that she's purposely making it simple. And
Yeah.
this is one of my questions for you.
Oh.
So the magic in the spring. She doesn't really ever go into a ton of detail. She's just like, the
Yeah.
spring is magical. And
Yeah.
then they tear down Eileen Cathedral and they technically bury the spring.
Right.
Water goes into the ground, okay?
Yeah.
I don't think you
Yeah.
can really bury a spring. And so I wonder if the spring and the magic is going to come back in book 2.
I literally had that written down. I said, the water in the spring, what will become of it?
And so
Simple YA question.
YA book club question. What becomes of the spring?
Where does the spring go? No,
And so,
I think it has to come back. Like, there's just
yeah,
no way that that is, like, gone for forever. Especially with Benji being, like, a little power-hungry chihuahua now. Like, he is for sure gonna have to, like, And also like keeping up with this ruse of like, oh, we have a diviner still like on staff who's my queen, and like
On
she's still
staff.
on staff. Don't worry, the staff is on the grounds, just dreaming in the spring. But they like are he wants to keep up that ruse, and so I'm like he's for sure gonna like go on this quest to find the original like limestone with the spring
Oh,
and like
yeah.
bring back that water, because like if he's not gonna quit the diviner practice, like the water is a huge part of that.
I also think that the water is going to have more abilities than is said to believe in the first book. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think it's just about turning people into omens. I just don't think the abbess was smart enough to figure out how to utilize it.
Or she knew and she was only utilizing that level of power for herself.
Maybe.
Because now that I'm like thinking of Sybil freeing her mind too, it's like, what is that going to unlock when she uses the water now? Like, it's almost like going to like this next level of usage of this spring water, where like the first level is just like her dreaming, and like the next is like, okay, now I know that like I'm not just confined to dreaming about like what omens are saying about these people or whatever. Like
Yeah.
now I can like use this spring to dream about whatever. And
She's
now
gonna
I'm
be a
wondering if
dream
it's gonna be
walker.
like, yeah, yes, I was just gonna say that. Like now I'm wondering if that's how she's gonna like connect with Rory and Bartholomew. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
That would be wild. The way that this left off, I really loved, which I know we talked about on the side that didn't love that it didn't end with as much of a cliffhanger bang
Yeah.
hanger, but like I liked that it ended in this way, because it's just like to me this book felt so complete. And I felt like when I closed it, I was like, I can't wait for the second book. But I also wasn't like, oh my God, I need this book to come out tomorrow. And if not, I'm going to lose my shit.
Yeah,
Like I
so it's
like
better
that
for
feeling.
Rachel's mental health.
Yeah, yeah, we want to support Rachel's mental health
But you know
above all.
what would have been a good alternative ending?
What?
If it like
For
so
Emily's fan fiction.
everybody walks away, so Rory, Maud, and Gargoyle, and then Benji and Sybil part ways, okay? And then it like
Oh,
it shoots back over to the crumbled cathedral, and the water's like trickling like off a stone, and it drops onto like a moth, and then the moth like turns into like a giant helicopter, like something big. And then you
I'm sorry.
realize
Is this Mission Impossible? What the fuck is happening?
And then you realize how the power of the water and that somebody has to grab it up in book two.
And then it just becomes a race to the water in book two.
And then Tom Cruise jumps out of the helicopter and is like, Sybil, girl, don't worry, I got you.
And then Tom Cruise becomes the abyss.
In real life, Tom Cruise is kind of the abyss. Don't cancel me, Tom.
I
Don't
can't.
get this
I
on the
can't.
internet.
I cannot get it.
But I
Wow.
just think
Wow.
there could have been a little
Okay.
bit more of a teaser of what's to come.
I do feel like we have a teaser of what's to come. What do you
I just feel like we have a
we
gargoyle
know
with a
exactly what's coming.
We have a gargoyle with a shattered wing. Rory's stabbed. He's like tittling away. And Sybil's a prisoner once again. We're actually
Correct.
like right where we started.
We literally know that Sybil is about to go dismantle this kingdom from under the Boy King's nose. We know that. And we know that Rory and Maud and the gargoyle are going to eventually help
Yeah, through the dreamwalking.
through the Dreamwalking.
Did you have
And
anything
Tom
you wanted
Cruise.
anything you wanted to end bits of the week on?
Honestly, I think the Mission Impossible is the perfect Rachel,
Okay.
hire Emily to ghostwrite for you is all I have to say. That's my final bit of the week.
So, would you survive this week?
Oh God. I actually think that I would have survived this week, personally.
Yeah, I think you would too.
Yeah, I think that I probably would also have still been surprised by Benji's betrayal, but I think I would have ran away with Maud, Rory, and the gargoyle, realistically.
I know. See, I don't think I would have survived because I think I would have tried to react in a very large way to that surprise. And another knight
She would have
probably would
been
have
Tom
just
Cruise.
stabbed me through the torso as soon as I tried to react.
Like, I think in that moment, if I was faced with like a crazy ass Benji, like I would go into like strategy mode instead of like losing my shit. I'd be like,
And I
okay,
would have
this,
just lost my shit.
yeah. I would have just been like, this 17-year-old has no fucking clue what he's doing. It's a matter of time before I take this shit over. And let me bide that time. And
And
then I'll
that's how
take
you
Rory
would.
back.
You also would have survived the whole like cave situation because you're like a great
Mm.
adventurer, big spelunker, but I wouldn't have not because I would have been so claustrophobic in that
I
cave
was
and
gonna
going
say
down
your
in it.
claustrophobia would have struggled with that big time. And the fear of the
Oh, but
darkness.
yes, I hate the dark. I actually would have loved to meet the Heartsword Weaver though.
Yeah, I think you probably would have struggled through some of these adventures in the end, and also not killing Benji through all of these
Yeah,
opportunities to kill Benjis.
I would have ended up dead one way or another.
Oh my God. All right. Well, I think next week we are talking just general rating, review, what our fan casts are for all of our favorite characters, a bunch of different things. What else are we talking about? Oh, we're going to talk about some awards for the book, aren't
Yeah.
we?
Yep, we're going to give away some end of book awards, and you are going to
Yep.
want to hear what I have to say.
Yes, you are. Will Emily rewrite this ending once again, and who will come into it? Maybe it'll be Chris Hemsworth this time. We don't know. If you want to hear more, meet us same time, same place. Grab your book, boyfriend, grab your blanket, and we'll see you then.
See ya.